Welcome to my garden. It's June 17th, 2020. I wanted to give you guys a little tour of my garden. I will do my best not to babble too much, but I tend to babble, so I can't make that promise that I won't. But start in the middle. You got my raccoon planter, which was a gift from my uncle to my mom. And when she downsized, I asked for it, so I'm excited to actually give it a place where it could be seen all the time. This container is a nasturtium that will go into the planter, but first I want to put this rock underneath the planter to lift it up off the ground more. But eventually that will go into the raccoon planter. In this first bed here in the middle, I'm growing a cherry tomato in the middle. It's called black cherry. I've never grown that one before, but I've read a lot of good things about it. People say it has a great flavor, so I'm looking forward to tasting that. The peppers, there's 4 peppers in this bed, and they are all sweet banana. I'm growing a bush basil. I love bush basil compared to the normal size basils. There's actually 2 plants. One I planted early and one I planted later, and they were started from seed at the same time, and you can see the difference in sizes already. There's cilantro, large leaf cilantro, flat leaf parsley, got some marjoram over there, got some alyssum. The alyssum is supposed to attract predatory insects, and hopefully the predatory insects will help take care of aphids and anything else that I have that's harming my plants. In this bed I have one of my favorite tomatoes, an heirloom variety called Matina. Looking forward to having that again. The other bed is a variety from Greece called Thessaloniki. I can't remember if it's heirloom or not. I think it is, but I'm not 100% sure. I do know it's open pollinated. There's 4 peppers in this bed, and they're all a mini bell called Cute Stuff. I used to grow a mini bell years ago called Jingle Bells that I loved, and I cannot find those seeds anymore, so I'm going to try this one and see if I like it. This is a Mexican herb called papalo, and there's another one over there. It's supposed to taste similar to cilantro, but like the heat, where cilantro doesn't do so well in the heat. So I'm hoping it works well enough that I can use it in my salsas this summer. It's supposed to get big. I don't know exactly how big, but I hope I left enough space for it. It's my first time growing it, so it's a new experience for me. Where the red things are, I sowed a few seeds of California poppy because I just really love how delicate the leaves are and how bright and happy the flowers are. So I put the red things there to remind me that that's what I put there, to not weed them out when they germinate. And then around the edges I had some old soybeans from years ago. They may be too old to germinate, they may not, I don't know. I just put them in just to use them up and see what happens. In this bed, the tomato in the middle is another one of my favorite tomato varieties called Gardener's Delight. It's described as a cherry tomato, but they're really big cherries. Not as big as a slicing tomato, but bigger than a cherry. But I like the flavor. The flavor's really good. The 4 pepper plants in this bed are all a normal size bell called Orange Sun. And I'm also growing bush basil. There's one I planted out normal time and one I planted out later. Those are also started from the same seed, and this is a different variety than the other 2 that I have. This has some long Italian or French name that I can never remember, but I'm comparing the 2 different varieties. There's another variety of cilantro. This one's called Leisure, and comparing it to the large leaf one. This one's supposed to be more bolt resistant. And there's some alyssum, another flat leaf parsley of the same variety, some summer savory. Yep, and there's a weed. That's summer savory. I think I covered everything in the middle there. Let's see. The plastic, you might be wondering, why in the world do you have that down, Darlene? This is to kill the plants that are growing there and to try to prevent other weed seed from getting there. My intention was to plant a low-growing native plant in this area, so that could be walked on, and I'm having a heck of a time finding something that will work for that, that won't attract bees, that will cause me or my dogs or Mark to step on while we're out here. So I finally decided to just go with fescue, because you can leave it it kind of gets tall and then it flops over, and you only have to mow it twice a year. So that's what I decided to go with. I bought the seed, but it's taken me so long to decide and to get to the point, to get the beds in and everything, to get to the point I can put it out here, that now it's too hot for it to germinate, so I can't plant it now. I have to wait till fall. But in all my dilly-dallying, all these plants that I don't want grew. So the plastic is to kill what grew in the pathway. I'm still pulling this stuff out by hand. I got some pulled out here. I did that the other day. I'm working on it, but that's the plastic I had on hand from something else, so I just thought I'd put it down to kill some of it. Anyway, let's see, where shall we start? Might as well start here. This is the west side of the garden. And I got my arch, which I'm really excited about. That's a cattle panel with some posts to hold it in place. Zip tied together. I'll come back later if I decide that I do like the cattle panel after things grow on it. Then I'll put some metal or some wire there instead of plastic, just to hold it more securely. So in this bed I have black beans, a variety called black turtle. I have another summer savory that's supposed to do well growing with black beans. And on the trellis, which has not germinated yet, will be spaghetti squash. I've never grown it before, and I've read it's supposed to get like crazy long. So I have a feeling it's going to go up over the arch and who knows how far beyond the other side. It hasn't germinated. I hope it does. It was older seed. We'll find out. And I have nasturtiums growing on either side of the trellis. Nasturtiums are supposed to be really good to grow with squashes and cucumbers and zucchini and that kind of stuff to repel harmful insects. Okay, this side of the trellis I planted a type of delicata squash that gets vines, and it's called jester. It'll grow up this side of the trellis. And there's a different variety of nasturtiums planted in here. Hasn't germinated yet. And the rest of the bed I planted, well, there's summer savory here, and then the rest of the bed I planted soybean, which I can't remember the name. It's some long name. It starts with a K. So this is soybean, and only one germinated, and it has a really weird brown spot on the leaf. I don't know what the deal is with that. So soybeans. This is my favorite variety of onions called Alsa Craig Exhibition. I absolutely love them. Fantastic. Highly recommend. In the back there without the mulch is leeks. I don't remember the name. Broad London maybe? No, that's not right. I don't know. I don't remember what that is. But this bed gets sun in the front and it gets a lot of shade in the back for most of the day, and you can see the difference in size to the onions. I planted them all from seed in January and then planted them out, I don't remember, April I think it was, maybe May, March, April, I don't know. I planted them out all at the same time, and you could definitely see the difference. So the amount of light they get makes a huge difference. Alright, this is Yukon Gold potato. This is my future bench area. I just have some old chairs there for now till I find a bench that I really like or make one. There's a fern that was living here before we built the house, and I'm so happy it stayed. I'm going to leave that there. And there's a lot of moss growing along here, which I'm thrilled about. I love moss. And I'm going to try to get it to grow between the tanks and the house. There's a walking path back there. I pull out all that stilt grass and try to get moss to grow back there and pull the weeds out in here. And this is a bird bath. I don't want the maintenance of having to keep a bird bath going, so it's turned upside down right now, but I'll turn that over, and I think I'm going to put moss and a fairy garden in there sometime, probably next year, not this year. Too many other things this year. Some daffodils down in there I need to plant yet. These are the more Yukon Gold potatoes. This bed gets shade most of the day. Because our house has a second story on some of it, but not all of it. The second story shields these beds here from the sun during most of the day. So since it gets more shade, I thought it'd be a perfect place to put cold crops, cold weather crops. So I have kale in the front. These are Brussels sprouts. And I didn't get them planted the right time, so they're a bit small for this time of year, but I'll see what happens. I have to plan better in the future. I got some dill growing. There's some more dill I just sowed in there the other day. And then I sowed some more in this line. The purple leaf thing is, it's a new to me plant. Somebody was telling me about it. It's, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Oric, I think? Oric? I don't know. I don't remember. O-R-A-C-H. But it's supposed to taste similar to spinach, but like the sun, or like the heat of summer. So I'm looking forward to trying that. That's just alone, same lettuce as I'm growing elsewhere, but I decided to put one in the shade to see how it does. And I haven't harvested any from it yet, so it has a lot of big leaves on it. And then in the back, I'll just plant some more kale and Brussels sprouts in the fall or later in the summer for fall harvest. This bed gets mostly shade, so this is where I'm going to plant shade-loving flowers. I have some monk's hoods out in the field that I want to plant here. And some hostas. I got some irises and some other things in here temporarily, but the field. At our old house, we had 1/3 of an acre and almost all of it was plants, gardens. And when we moved, we dug up the things that we really liked and we put them on a field on our property here so we can replant them into a normal garden once we got the house built. Well, we were so busy with the house and everything else going on in our lives that we didn't weed it well. So it's just covered with weeds and a lot of the plants died. Turn around while I babble. A lot of the plants died. So the last week or two I've been going through and finding what's still alive and marking the things that I want to keep. Some things I've decided that I no longer want and I don't care. But these are the things that I dug up so far that I do want. So hostas, irises, penstemon, and some other things in there. Anyway, so let's move on. These are Henderson's lima beans. It's an heirloom variety. In the cage are zucchini. I planted 2. I need to pull 1. This is white sage. It's supposed to be edible, but it's mainly used for making smudge sticks, and I thought it was kind of interesting and different than what I normally grow. In the back I have French tarragon, lavender, garlic chives, and again I planted nasturtiums on either side of this arch. This is a different variety. I'm growing 4 varieties of nasturtiums. 1 germinated, a little tiny one right here. The rest haven't come up yet. And then I'm growing cucumbers, homemade pickled cucumbers. 1 germinated and died, so I planted another seed yesterday. So that'll come up and grow on the trellis. On this side, more nasturtiums, of course. These are rattlesnake pole beans, heirloom variety. They're green with maroon streaks on them. You can eat them as green beans when they're young, or you can let them dry and then take the beans out of the pods and eat them as dry beans in soups. And I eat them both ways. They're really good. And then this, I only have 1 that's come up so far, but the rest of this bed they'll come up too. These are bush green beans, Blue Lake 274. There's 2 so far. I'm going to pluck out the smaller one. That's a bush delicata squash. I'm going to compare it to the others. Did I go over the Jester squash? Yeah, I'm going to compare it to the Jester. Common chives. A very unhappy lavender. It's a different variety than the other one. I moved all these perennial herbs in the back of these 2 beds. I moved them all after we installed these 2 beds, and that one's not liking the change, so I need to take some cuttings from it and try to keep it alive. It's a shame because it was huge and gorgeous, and I cut it back after I moved it, but apparently not enough. Anyway, that's rosemary. That's ARP. Sometimes it survives winter, sometimes it doesn't. It did survive last winter. And another white sage. These are 6 varieties, or 6 of the same variety of tomato plant. It's a paste tomato called San Remo, also called Pompeii. Usually paste tomatoes are short tomato plants, and they're determinate. They produce their fruit within a short amount of time, and I'm growing them so I can make canned salsa and tomato sauce and tomatoes and stuff this year. So I planted 6 thinking they're short. 6 would give me enough to do that. Well, I was reading about them the other day, and it turns out I misremembered. I grew this variety years ago, and I really like the flavor of them, so I haven't grown them in a long time. So I refreshed my memory on them, and here I was wrong. They are indeterminate, they get really tall, and they produce the whole season. So I'm going to be swamped with paste tomatoes this year. So if anybody lives near me and wants some paste tomatoes, ask me later in the summer. I'm sure I'll have some extras to share. And in the middle I planted German chamomile, because when I was thinking that these were short, I thought it'd be nice to have the German chamomile to attract pollinators, and I think they attract predatory insects too, I can't remember. And then this is a basil plant, or not a basil, a blueberry. When Mark was putting my path in behind the tanks here, he dug up 2 blueberry plants in the process, so I put one there and one in another bed to try to save them. Alright, this is thyme, just normal common garden thyme. Last spring it was almost dead. I was growing it somewhere else. It was almost dead. I only had a few leaves on it, and I took a piece and I buried it in the soil with just a few leaves poking out, and it grew like crazy. It's doing great. I gave a huge chunk away in the front. It's starting to get yellow now. I think I need to cut it back or something, but it's just doing fantastic. Let's see, the peas. We got Cascadia snap peas, yum yum. We got some Progress number 9 shelling peas. I intended to grow these for Mark, but I tasted them the other day. Oh, that one's ready. I tasted them the other day, and they were phenomenal. I normally don't like peas. No, I shouldn't say normally. I don't like store-bought peas. They're nasty. But these are like a completely different vegetable. They're just delicious. Let's see. In the back of these cages, I'm growing 2 different kinds of snap peas. There's a golden sweet and I forget what that's called. Morton's melting something. I don't know. Another kind of snap pea or snow pea in the back. And then these are the same peas. I just started them at 2 different times. Here's the other blueberry plant that God dug up. My little butterfly and my dragonfly. Somebody locally made these from various scrap parts. And my lemon verbena. Love this for making teas. Moralisum. And in the front, where I put the rocks to remind me that there's a winter alkanite and a yellow stargrass. There, the leaves die down in the summer, but the roots are there. And I put them there to remind me that they're there so I don't accidentally dig them up. This is more Elsa Craig exhibition onions. Love them. This is, let's see, we got 2 kinds of garlic in the back. Nanny's half-long carrots. A bunching onion that I can't remember the name. And I've planted the onions and the carrots at different times. You see that there's different heights and different ages, and there's some seeds I planted that haven't come up yet. So plant them at different times so I can harvest them throughout the summer and into the fall. Over here we got 2 more varieties of garlic, different than the other 2. And a different kind of carrot, different than the other one. This one's called Mokum. Got 4 kinds of spinach. Catalina. I forget how to pronounce the Italian or French name of that one, but it means giant of winter. And that bolted already. I pulled those out and planted some more. Let's see, this is Giant Noble, this is Little Hero, and they're all, the spinaches are starting to bolt. And this is Little Gem lettuce, and this is Dragoon lettuce. This one I love, I've grown it before, I love it a lot. This is new to me, I just sowed those seeds about a month or so ago. So we're going to compare those this year. This is where I put compost, like scraps from the garden when I weed things out, that kind of stuff. And it's too big, the container is too big for it to heat up and stuff, and it just gets full of weeds. So later this summer or maybe next spring, whenever I fill up to it, I'm going to take all this stuff out, start a compost pile over there somewhere, and turn this into a normal bed. I'll put soil and stuff in there, and this will be a flower bed next year. And I forget where I started. Did I talk about these yet? I think I did. Black beans, spaghetti squash, nasturtiums, summer savory. And back here, someday in the future, there'll be a garden shed back here. And I'm working on trying to kill the plants that are growing so I can put fescue or something low growing that won't attract ticks to it. But for now, I have put down the cardboard I had. A friend gave me another piece of cardboard. I'll have to cut some of this down and put that piece of cardboard out. So that's an ongoing project. Oh, and this path. This hill came down to the back of the tanks, and it made it hard to get in there to plant and harvest and weed and mulch, and it's just really hard. So Mark used the bulldozer and a pickaxe and a shovel and cleared a walking path for me. So that's cool. So that is my garden. I think I covered everything. 2017 we put in this bed, and down except for the one on the end. And then I think it was 2018 we put the corner one in. And then this year we added all the other beds all this spring. So it's exciting to finally have a garden again, a decent garden, and not try to make do with a limited amount of space like I've been doing the last few years. Really excited. At the old house I grew slightly more flowers than I grew vegetables, but at this house I'm going to be growing more vegetables because I really enjoy the security of growing my own food. Next year the corner beds, that one, the one with the paste tomatoes, the one with the shade plants, and this one here with the onions and leeks, those will be planted with different flowers. I already have lists of things I want to put in there. I'm trying to choose flowers that will attract pollinators and parasitic insects and larval stages of things, of insects that I want in the garden. I think that's everything. So that's my garden. I hope I didn't babble and bore you. And you guys could probably hear my little Kaylee inside barking. She doesn't like that I'm out here without her. Which reminds me, we're going to have a fence installed. This spring I got a quote, and we were going to have the fence installed as soon as we were done installing these beds, but because of the coronavirus, we're holding off of that. We don't want people coming here to the house and potentially contaminating us or us contaminating them, but where this yellow rope is will be the fence. It'll go up over the hill, behind all these trees, down along that tree line, and enclose that flat area there I was talking about with the cardboard, and go over to where we currently have the fenced in area for the dogs to go out and potty. To that fence will be pulled out and it will be replaced with the new fence. And then we'll still have a section between so the dogs can still have their potty area, and we can determine when we want them out here with us, because we don't want them out here unless we're out here for safety. Alright, so that's everything. I had to do this video several times because I kept messing up and trying to make it shorter each time, and I don't think I succeeded this time, but I think I'm going to call it in. Thanks for stopping by my garden.